someone I originally went to school with and who literally won Designer of the Year.
She just wants to be beautiful. She goes unnoticed. She knows no limits. She craves attention. She praises an image she prays to be sculpted by the sculptor. There's a hope that's waiting for you in the dark.
What is up, guys, and welcome to tonight's Amazing Live, where I could not be more excited to talk to Angela Luna. She is an amazing entrepreneur, fashion designer, someone I originally went to school with, and who literally won Designer of the Year, has her own brand, and is literally killing it. And I could not be more excited to invite her on. So, okay, cool. She figured it out. Hopefully this works. Adding. What's up, Brianna?
Okay,
What's up?
I think I'm here.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm glad this worked.
Where are you? I'm glad I figured this out. Wait, this is so cool.
Where are you right now?
I am at my apartment/studio in Long Beach, California. So yeah, officially moved out to the West Coast a few months ago, and yeah, working with my co-founder from our house. So it's a lot of like everything all at one time, but no, it's going really well. So yeah, I had a kind of complex day of designing, and now just kind of wrapping up a little bit, and then I'll do some more, I think, after this call. So we will see.
Oh, well, thanks so much for taking the time to join. I met you in school, like,
Yeah.
slash kind of met you. Like, I mean, I knew of you, but it was like when we were in school, we were so like tunnel vision all the time.
We had like one class together too, I think, but like I don't think anyone in that class ever talked, since Parsons is so like competitive and mean.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
But I'm so happy we got to connect after school, which usually happens. But you know, I just want to talk about your whole journey as far as how you got from that first idea of creating that amazing jacket, which, guys, literally turns into a tent. Like,
It's pretty cool.
Mind blown. How did this all start? What was your idea, your motivation and inspiration, and how did you get to where you are right now?
Yeah, no, so I always I tell the story, but this is actually the first time that I've actually told it to another Parsons student, so this is pretty cool. So, you know, at school, it's very intense, and everyone kind of goes in knowing exactly what they want to do. So my background was in, you know, couture evening wear. Like I was pretty like certain that that was to be my path. And then, you know, the refugee crisis happened, and I wasn't really someone who like gave any shits about what happened in the world. Like I would just, you know, kind of tune into fashion. That was about it. And so, then I remember seeing the photo of Alon Kurdi like splashed all over Facebook, and I was very moved emotionally. At first, I didn't even know what it was. I thought it might have been a doll on a beach or something. I didn't understand until you know, I finally said, okay, you know what, this photo has gotten so much traction on my feed, I better take a look. And I realized what I was actually seeing, and no, it wasn't a doll. It was a little Syrian boy who was trying to flee with his family. And so that was like kind of the tipping point. So, you know, I had been looking into the crisis and not really knowing what I could do. So, you know, coming from a background in fashion, it's not really like, you know, there's much humanitarian impact there possible with that. So, I told my parents, I'm like, I'm quitting fashion school. I'm leaving. Why did you guys think this was a good idea for me? And I told my teachers that as well. And they were like, you know what, that's not really the best solution. You know, if you're very frustrated with the fashion industry and how it's not responding to these important issues, then you're exactly the person who needs to be in the industry to change it. So I was like, all right, let me take a look at this from a design perspective. So I decided to look at the crisis instead of just as a bystander, and start looking at it as a designer. And I realized that there were a lot of key issues that could be identified that were influencing, you know, the ease of these people who are trying to flee, the safety of these people who are trying to flee, that could be addressed through design. And so I immediately just started like making these weird transformable jackets that I thought would be able to provide some form of assistance. And then it just kind of like snowballed. I went down the rabbit hole of like, let me see where this can go. And then graduated from school, got a ton of press and attention around it. So I was like, you know what, this is the time. This is an issue right now and it's not going away, no matter what anyone says. So the biggest way to have an impact is just start something now and see where it goes. So it's been like, oh my gosh, a year and a half out of school of just like craziness. But yeah, so transitioned from this school project to ideally a humanitarian brand.
Wow. So, what would you say was your biggest struggle during all of that? Was it
Oh
like
my
the
God.
actual was it the
Hold on, I gotta
actual
put my phone down for this because I'm like, this is like getting intense. Okay.
Yes.
So like every time, like every month there's like a big struggle, there's this huge challenge that like I don't expect. And so you know, with Parsons and with thesis, it was always like, you know, just let me finish this next jacket, then the next one will be easier or something like that. And I remember after, you know, doing like the designer of the year presentations, my friends were like, oh my God, Angela, how do you feel you're done? I'm like, there's no way am I done, this is just the beginning. So since then, I mean, there's been like struggle after struggle. The latest one, which I'm actually planning on turning into another TED talk or something, was kind of like our production for our tent jackets. You know, the most anticipated piece has been delayed over the course of a year. And I've been trying to get it made with any different factory, whether it's in China, in the US, like literally everywhere. And nothing was kind of lining up. We're paying this really expensive sourcing team who wasn't delivering on time. And so basically kind of came to the point where we're like, you know, we're going to have to shut down because we can't hold on to people's money anymore. We can't, you know, not be transparent with our customers. They need to know how much of a struggle this has been. And we don't want to guarantee something that we can't deliver on. So, you know, we're about ready to like refund everyone and like close the doors temporarily and see what happened. And I had a lead on a factory in Ukraine and just decided to go to Ukraine like the next day. And so was able to find a solution there. And now our jacket production is back on schedule and we're supposed to get everything by the end of this month. So it's like, there's so many failures, I guess, that I would kind of deem them as, or big challenges where it's like you're not even sure if you can keep going. And what I've learned from it is that like you are the only person who is keeping this going. Like it can stop anytime if you just want to like give up and just do something else, that's fine, because it won't keep going if you're not going to put in the effort. But like you're the only one who's doing this, so just keep at it and it's going to happen. So that's like, I mean, failure happens all the time. It just matters how you come back from it.
Definitely. So, I mean, you just seem to be so focused and like clear-headed on what you want to deliver. God. And yeah. I mean, on the surface, I don't know. I'm a shit show behind closed doors too. But
there's this internal chaos on the inside. It's fine.
But I just want to know from you, is there something that you do every day? Like people have a morning routine, people wake up and they gratitude journal and they have vision boards and all this shit. Mine isn't Pinterest worthy. It's kind of like a bunch of words, places I want to go, Disney World, of course. Like, so what is your big why and what do you do every day to kind of remind yourself of that?
Actually, something that I was doing this on a panel actually a few months ago, but there's one thing, I mean, I normally like, I'll try to work out in the mornings. If I don't, then I'll do it at night. Like there's like, you know, I do find that I need to have some breaks sometime, and I'm getting so much love from Gossen. Hi guys. But yeah, so normally what I do no matter what, I always try to stay informed, and I found that that's really what's changed me in the last 3 years has been understanding what's going on in the world and trying to get up to date on like every new development. So what I do in the mornings, I usually always listen to Up First, which is a 12-minute NPR politics kind of rundown of like all the things that are going on in the world. Just kind of like brief stories. So if you need to learn more, you know, you can go on their website or go read any articles. But that's something that I really kind of just do to digest what's happening in the world and just to be aware, since, you know, what we're trying to do is such a global scale and it's such a humanitarian thing. We need to know what's going on in those countries. So yeah, that's always really important for me, and definitely the best step to get going for the day.
So how do you said you guys need to know what's going on in those countries. So like, how do you stay in constant communication with them in order to get everything over to the right people and stuff like that?
It's hard. It's hard. And I mean, with the nonprofits too, we definitely face a lot of struggles of just like updates on when things are happening, you know, just in terms of like on the ground. You know, luckily social media has developed so much that, you know, someone in Syria can post can tweet something, and, you know, we get it instantly. So it's just about being aware of, you know, who to follow, what to look for, following the right news agencies, because there is a lot that gets, you know, either swept under the rug or not really explained correctly. So yeah, just kind of doing research on the right part of, you know, companies you can trust, people you can trust. And yeah, I know. I think social media has really been like the greatest invention because it allows connection across worlds. So that's really been the easiest way to follow like what's going on.
So who would you say, like all throughout school and even now, would you say is like a huge inspiration for you as a designer, as an entrepreneur? Like who?
Well, so when I was at school, I loved Lucy, Lucy Jones, who graduated the year before
Shout
we
out
did.
to Lucy.
Shout out to Lucy. I always do shout outs to Lucy. So yeah, like she was really what inspired me to do this project, because I remember seeing her do her thesis presentation, and I was like, that's something. Like, this is a girl who used fashion in a way that was so unexpected, and, you know, became more of a real issue in the world, like actually solving a problem through design. And I was like, that's really cool. So yeah, she was my inspiration when I was doing the project, and, you know, we've actually become friends now. So I mean, she still inspires me what she does. We both are kind of taking a little different of approaches to entrepreneurship, so it's interesting to kind of still see where the similarities are, and kind of cross-reference stories of, oh, someone said this to me in a pitch meeting, what about you? So it's lucky to have, you know, Parsons has a good network that we can draw from and learn from always.
Yeah, definitely. So what would you say though is I guess what changed you for the better after entering this industry, and what's been really hard to get through, or something that you're not jazzed about when it comes to fashion, the industry, the people? Because I have a whole list.
I know. I mean, it's like, I feel like it's the bad things of the industry that keep me going. And I hate to kind of say this, like, it's the problems that inspire me, because I don't know, I always like to see issues and try to think of solutions. Like, I'm just a natural, I guess, problem solver brain type. I don't know. So, you know, when I see that there are so many flaws in the industry, that gives me the attention and the desire to try to create solutions. So, I mean, like, this industry is so messed up in like a million ways. And so seeing that, you know, maybe there isn't so much progress going on makes me feel like, okay, you know what, that I have to keep pushing for this no matter what, because if it's not going to come from what we're doing, then where else is it going to come from? So, yeah, I mean, like, everything in the industry, from, you know, designers copying designers, and like, I've noticed that we've been copied a few times too, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm glad you were inspired by what we did, but I wish you included the humanitarian aspect as well. But yeah, no, so it's just like, it's understanding just what kind of goes on, and like ways that there can be improvements, and just acting on those improvements, because, you know, maybe no one else is going to do them, but we're going to be the first ones to try.
Definitely. So as far as like starting your own business and everything like that, the one thing that I have found is that there is this kind of mentality, like there's always more you could be doing. You can never shut it off.
Yeah.
Like, what is social life? So I just want to know from you, like, how do you have like a hard stopping point during your day? Do you still struggle with like putting things down?
Yeah. I mean, I tend to have a hard stopping point. I live with my co-founder though, and he does not turn off, like, no matter what. So Like he might come to like knock on my door like 11:30 at night and be like, I thought of this really cool idea for a zipper. I'm like, that's great. Write it down, or can you explain it to me quickly and then we'll talk about it tomorrow. So I mean, it is a balance, and it's difficult. I mean, if it's something that, if it's just like menial tasks of like answering emails or just writing up something, I'll try to like stop like at a time that is healthy, I guess, from when I started, and take some time to decompress or like watch Netflix or something. But when I'm doing designing, like I just feel like with the process of sewing, it's so easy to get sucked in. And I actually don't mind that. Like I enjoy sitting at a sewing machine for about 12 hours. Like that seems like fun to me sometimes. So typically when I'm doing design work, it's just like whenever it comes, it comes. And that's just kind of capitalizing on when that wave of inspiration hits. Because, there's like, I could go an entire week and not feel like I want to sketch anything or sew anything. But then, there could be a 48-hour period where I just feel like very passionate to like churn something out, and so I'm going to spend all my time doing that. So like with those things, there's definitely no stopping point. When it happens, it happens. And with the more just like interview questions or emails, or I don't know, that's like I'll try to wrap up sometime before dinner time, or allow myself to have a little bit of time to either like go to the gym or hang out, or enjoy life.
Got it. So when you say like sitting in a sewing machine is fun for you, I was way more, especially in school, I was way more conceptual than I was like analytical and physical. Like I could never drape because I'd be staring at muslin, like trying to find the meaning of life.
Like, where do you want me to go?
Yeah.
I was actually just doing that like 5 seconds ago, so I understand you.
So are you more like a very like analytical black and white person, or are you much more conceptual where you draw things out first and like the idea behind it comes first before the actual like physical form?
Well, I found that like my working style is very different from my personality as a whole. And I kind of just realized this, in the last few weeks. It's like normally as a person, I'm very like, very open, and I always draw my energy from other people. I'm like incredibly extroverted, but then when I'm working, I'm very introverted. I'll think of an idea and I'm not going to tell it to anyone until it's completely resolved in my head. And like I'll work in a team, but like I really want to figure out like what are the actions first. Like for me, when I wanted to start a business, it was okay, I have no idea about business or anything, so let me ask every single person and then figure out what the first step is, because I need a roadmap. And then I realized no one knows what they're doing, so you got to make up the roadmap yourself. So yeah, I mean, it's like it's weird balancing my personality type with this work style. But I don't know, I always loved like realizing things three-dimensionally. And typically when I designed other pieces that weren't necessarily solution based, I would just kind of go to a sketch and then immediately translate that into like three-dimensional form. But I find that with what we're developing now, like with the 10 jacket, that wasn't necessarily something that I could sketch and then just make a version of it in real life. That was something that had to be like 3D sketched, which is just like making half scale muslins or something like that, so that way I could understand like the physics of it, I guess. So I don't know, it's a little bit of both. I mean, I love sitting down and sewing. I just like, that's something that I can just like dive into and listen to a podcast or something and just totally zone out, which I do enjoy doing that every once in a while. But yeah, I mean, like the concept usually comes first. Like I'll have an idea for some sort of a product, and then I'll do some sketches, maybe get bored of that, then I'll do some draping, maybe get bored of that, and then try to find a way to merge the two. So I don't know, it's all at the same time.
Well, I mean, obviously it's coming together beautifully. So what does the process look like from start to finish, from like idea to the person who needs it to the customer? Because I know that you guys do a 1-for-1.
Yeah, no, it takes so long. So, now we've kind of streamlined our production process a little bit more. So we have, some concrete manufacturers, textile suppliers, all of that. But, from idea to actual delivery, I mean, I would set that timeline at like at least 9 months. So right now, I mean, I'm kind of working on, because we're differentiating our products a little bit. We have, we're trying to focus on our customers who are, on one side of the coin, the people who are paying for the jackets, who have needs just a little bit different from, the people who are receiving these as donations. So really trying to identify both of our end users and figure out what is most important to each. So we're differentiating our product, creating, more pieces for customers, than trying to streamline what's going to be donated for refugees and homeless. So yeah, but I mean, from concept to prototype to factory sample, all of that, it's a lot of back and forth, a lot of testing, but like still we need to be doing so much more testing. Like we're trying to live basically in our products, anything that we make, as much as possible. And like with the tent jacket, we're releasing a video, which I think we haven't released yet, but we're releasing it, I think, next week, of our road trip from Boston to LA, where we, slept out in the jackets. We wore them like every day. Now that we have our final factory sample, like I'm obsessed with it. Like I always say, like, I'm never going to wear another kind of outerwear jacket in my life unless it's like one of these, because I love it so much. So that's, just kind of my perspective of wearing it every day, just like out in LA, or just to go for meetings or shopping, or to go for a quick hike. So, so then testing all of that, getting the production done, and delivery and logistics honestly takes up like the most of it. When we shipped our jackets to Syria, it took, I think it was in customs for like 2 months, and it was on a boat for another month or something. So getting through the boring parts of just waiting for things is definitely like the struggle of like, okay, it's been on this boat for how long? Where exactly is it? But yeah, once it finally gets there, it's great that we can see the photos. We're trying to work with some new nonprofits now that we can actually maybe help with donation distribution, or be a bit more involved in the process. But no, I mean, it was like such a great feeling too, just to reach that final point of, this was the entire thing that I was working for, and just to actually get it sent out and realized is truly amazing.
That's so awesome. And like, just seeing you now, it's like such a turn from even what you said was your original focus in school.
I know.
So, I mean, Gary V, I don't know if you follow him or listen to him, the big entrepreneur, he basically said, I used to cut flowers in my neighbor's garden and sell it back to them. He was always an entrepreneur. Like,
gotta have the hustle. Yeah.
So were you always this innovative when you were younger, like subtly, before you even like thought about getting into fashion? Or
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, my brother was always, shout out to my brother, he's not watching this. He was always kind of the entrepreneur one. So he was like, I remember we went on a business together. We went on a business together. No worries. When he was in like elementary school, and we called this like nutty buddies. So we would get like acorns and like draw, like I would paint faces on them, or like carve faces into them, and then like paint little like acorn caps, and we would like sell them for like a penny in like the schoolyard. I don't know. So I mean, I think like in the tag team that was me and my brother when we were kids, he would kind of run the business side, and I would try to take over the creative side. So I think that's kind of like, it kind of naturally was always in my head, but like never did I ever expect to be, a CEO of something. So no, I mean, it's a crazy shift. I always did want to start something eventually. I always figured when I was like, I don't know, like 50 or 60 with like tons of years of experience, but yeah, never expected to have something like this kind of like thrust into my path, with no experience at all.
Definitely. So who is your co-founder? Is that your brother or?
No, so this is actually, so we have 3 founding team members, and myself included. So his name is Will. He's over in the other room. He might be watching this. Maybe that's him liking this now. So he comes from a background in business and finance. So he went to BU. We met when I was at MASH Challenge earlier this year doing the Startup Accelerator program there. So he runs the finance, logistics, everything I hate about running a business, and I try to take care of the design, the interviews and such, and trying to communicate with our nonprofit partners.
So speaking of interviews and press, how was you did the HP commercial, right?
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
Literally screamed in the middle of my family room. I'm like,
Oh my
what?
God. I had so many
How?
people, like so many people were watching it when The Bachelor or The Bachelorette was on. And like these are my guy friends like watching The Bachelor, Bachelorette, like, I just saw you. And I'm like, now I know what you watch. So
Yeah.
that was so funny. But yeah, no, that was such a random experience. Like I have no idea how I could even get that to happen again, but it was just an email that I happened to see and answer that was like, hey, do you want to do a Microsoft ad? And I was like, maybe. So yeah, I know it was crazy, and it all happened really fast, and then it got released, and I honestly didn't expect it to be anything. So like I was like, oh yeah, you don't have to use my name, don't really mention the company, because I wasn't sure if it was going to be like, really good, or if it wasn't going to work out. But then I was like, oh shit, no, this is really awesome. So yeah, it was a little bit crazy. I had so many friends from like preschool being like, was that you? I couldn't recognize if it was like what you were doing or not. So yeah, it was fun. I only saw it twice though. I guess I only watch like Catfish reruns on MTV and like Say Yes to the Dress, and it was not on TLC or MTV. So
Oh. No, yeah, it was so good. And I just remember literally being like starstruck, like what
oh
the
my gosh.
fuck? Um, but having said that, like what do you think, you know, how do you think you have changed as a person, I guess, like for the better since you started your own business? You basically, your life and what you thought it was going to be kind of took a turn for the
Yeah.
better. But, your idea for your thesis kind of like dictated where you are now and kind of where this business, how it was born. So, how have you changed as a person for the better, do you think?
I think I've gotten a lot stronger and a lot tougher. I've learned how and when to call out someone on their bullshit, basically. I remember I was actually in New York a few weeks ago, and I was meeting with my thesis professor, and we're kind of going over everything. And she was like, would you have ever guessed 2 years ago that when you came to me with this idea that, you would be where you are now? And I was like, absolutely not. But no, I gotta say, like, learning to run a business, it's such a struggle, personally, emotionally. I'm trying to transition from, doing this thing all on my own to becoming a leader and trying to bring on a team and get people excited. So it's a lot. It's a lot of balance. It's a lot of, pushback and learning how to come back at it. But no, I feel like I've definitely learned to be stronger and to, you know, stand up for myself if something's kind of not going the right way. It was really difficult for me, like the first 6 months, to be like, oh yeah, okay, well, you must seem like you know everything about this, so I'm just gonna like step to the side. Whereas now I'm like, no, I've done my research on this. I feel confident to speak on this issue. So yeah, so definitely strength, confidence, and I was gonna say something else, but I'll see if it comes back to me.
Well, if you, speaking of like, your journey and everything like that, if you were to have everything erased, like all of your work, like all the jackets disappeared,
Oh my
um,
God.
sketchbooks, like everything from the past 2 years, and all you had left was basically one message that you could give to, the people that follow you and basically what you stand for as a brand. What would you have to say to those people if you could give like one advice on like how to live like a more amazing life?
I would just say it all comes down to that we are all human. And that's kind of been, the major takeaway that I've been trying to, push as much as I can in the last few weeks, is because, I realize this the more that I travel, the more that I meet other people from other cultures, the more that, our world gets expanded. We're all the same. We're all human. That's basically all it comes down to. And I think that's the most important thing, as we move together in this huge world and try to, cross cultures and build bridges instead of walls. It's just really to cling to that sense of humanity and that sense of, you know, we're all in this together. We're all the same. So yeah, no, that's what I would say.
That's awesome. I don't want to put that nightmare in your head, but
no, it's okay. I'd be like, guys,
question
everything's stolen. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's a question I ask pretty much everyone, that, or if you had a billboard that everyone drove by and it only said one thing, what would it say?
We're all human.
But I'm like, well, it depends on the day. So
true.
But I just wanted to take a moment and just seriously acknowledge you. Like, I didn't have the pleasure of knowing you in school, but I'm so glad now that we got to reconnect, and like I can use my platform to like promote you, your message, and kind of what you are trying to bring to the world as this like new idea of what fashion is. And it can be a way of giving back. It can be a way of showing that you care, and really just providing a home for somebody, providing comfort, you know, shelter. So, I mean, go you on all levels. Seriously.
Thank you. I know. I'm like, it's hard to try to change an industry. And, you know, we really just want people to understand, you know, that there are other issues that are really important that might not be talked about as much, and to really use fashion as like a medium for talking about these really important things, which, you know, people aren't really doing. So to be the forefront of that, it's challenging, but it's awesome. And I'm so glad we were able to reconnect too. No, I think it's really cool. And it's so cool what you're doing. I'm like, I wish I lived closer to you so we could train together, but I will use all of your videos from afar.
Oh, yeah, it's interesting how everything kind of fell together for me, but it's like none of it was a waste of time. I think it all led me to this point. And school, I think if anyone went to that school, it would teach you something about about yourself, time management, people in general. So, you know, and it brought out people like you. So it's just, I mean, that school is doing something right. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Well, guys, if you want to check out Angela and her amazing work, I'm going to leave her information in the comments when we get off. So definitely check it out, and make sure you check out her Instagram, her epic pictures of traveling and on the road. Her cinematographer.
Give it our video when it comes out next week, and please like and share and all the things.
Yes, definitely share her work, guys. It is definitely a 1-for-1. Any promotion that you're giving is definitely going to mean that one more person is getting that much closer to having a shelter, having a jacket for themselves. And guys, these jackets are dope AF. So you have to check them out. I'm going to leave them in the comments. Angela, thank you so much for hopping on and taking the time.
Thank you. No, let's do this again, and maybe not on Facebook Live, so we can just catch up about life too. But no, this has been awesome. Thanks for having me.
Definitely, girl. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye, guys.